What if the reason some people rise from failure stronger, smarter, and more confident, while others crumble, quit, or feel permanently defeated, has nothing to do with talent, intelligence, or luck? What if the real difference lies in something invisible, something quietly shaping every decision you make, every challenge you face, and every belief you hold about yourself? Carol S. Dweck's mindset begins with this electrifying idea, that a single belief about your abilities can determine the entire trajectory of your life. And once you see it, you can never unsee it. Dweck introduces the concept of mindset by revealing two fundamentally different ways people view intelligence, talent, and ability. Some people believe these qualities are fixed traits, you either have them or you don't. Others believe they can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. This simple distinction, she explains, changes everything. It shapes how people approach challenges, how they handle failure, how they respond to criticism, and ultimately how successful and fulfilled they become. She begins by unpacking the fixed mindset, a way of thinking where intelligence and talent are seen as static. People with this mindset spend their lives trying to prove themselves. Every test, performance, or evaluation becomes a judgment of their worth. Success means validation, and failure feels like exposure. In this mental framework, effort is often seen as a sign of weakness. If you were truly smart or talented, you wouldn't need to try so hard. This belief quietly pushes people to avoid challenges, shy away from risks, and give up quickly when things get difficult. In contrast, Dweck introduces the growth mindset, where abilities are seen as qualities that can be cultivated. Here, effort isn't a sign of inadequacy, it's the path to mastery. Challenges are not threats but opportunities to grow. Failure isn't a permanent label, it's feedback. People with a growth mindset don't need to constantly prove how smart they are, because they believe they can become smarter through learning and persistence. This shift, though subtle, completely transforms how people live, learn, and lead. To support these ideas, Dweck takes us through decades of research, beginning with studies on children. She observed how kids responded to puzzles and problems of varying difficulty. Some children, when faced with harder tasks, became discouraged and disengaged. Others leaned in, intrigued and energized by the challenge. The difference wasn't intelligence, it was mindset. The children who believed intelligence was fixed wanted to look smart. The ones who believed it could grow wanted to get smarter. One of the most striking moments in the book comes when Dweck explains how praise shapes mindset. When children were praised for being smart, they became more afraid of failure. When praised for effort, strategies, and persistence, they became more resilient and willing to tackle difficult problems. This insight reveals how well-intentioned encouragement can accidentally sabotage growth. By praising talent instead of effort, we may be teaching people to fear challenges instead of embracing them. Dweck then moves into the realm of education, showing how mindsets shape classrooms and learning environments. She explains how students with a fixed mindset often interpret poor grades as proof of low intelligence, leading them to disengage or give up entirely. Growth-minded students, on the other hand, see poor performance as a signal to adjust strategies and try again. Teachers who understand mindset can dramatically influence student outcomes by focusing on learning processes rather than labels or rankings. The book then shifts into the world of sports, where the difference between natural talent and developed ability becomes painfully clear. Dweck examines elite athletes who are not necessarily the most gifted but became champions because they embraced struggle, trained relentlessly, and learned from defeat. Coaches with a growth mindset emphasize learning, resilience, and improvement, while fixed mindset coaches focus on star players and innate talent, often neglecting long-term development. Business and leadership form another powerful arena where mindset plays out. Dweck analyzes successful and failed companies through the lens of mindset, revealing that organizations led by fixed mindset leaders often become rigid, risk-averse, and obsessed with image. Leaders who need to appear brilliant discourage dissent, innovation, and honest feedback. Growth mindset leaders, however, foster cultures of learning, experimentation, and continuous improvement. They surround themselves with capable people, welcome challenges, and see setbacks as part of the process rather than threats to authority. Perhaps one of the most emotionally resonant sections of the book is where Dweck explores relationships. She explains how a fixed mindset can lead people to believe that compatibility, love, and communication should come naturally. When conflict arises, it's seen as evidence that something is wrong or that the relationship is failing. Growth-minded individuals understand that relationships require effort, learning, and adaptation. They view challenges as chances to deepen understanding rather than reasons to withdraw or blame. Dweck also addresses the internal dialogue that accompanies each mindset. In a fixed mindset, the inner voice is harsh and judgmental. It whispers that mistakes define you, that failure means you're not good enough, and that effort is pointless if you're not naturally gifted. In a growth mindset, the inner voice is curious and constructive. It asks what can be learned, how to improve, and what strategy might work better next time. One of the most empowering aspects of the book is Dweck's insistence that mindset is not a permanent identity. You don't simply have one mindset forever. People often operate with a growth mindset in some areas and a fixed mindset in others. The key is awareness. Once you recognize fixed mindset thinking, you can challenge it. You can replace self-judgment with curiosity, fear with effort, and avoidance with engagement. She also makes it clear that adopting a growth mindset does not mean pretending everything is easy or that effort alone guarantees success. Growth mindset acknowledges reality. It recognizes limitations while believing improvement is possible. It embraces struggle not as a virtue in itself, but as a necessary part of learning. Toward the end, Dweck discusses how to intentionally cultivate a growth mindset. This involves changing how we talk to ourselves, how we respond to failure, how we praise others, and how we set goals. It means choosing learning over validation and progress over perfection. It also means understanding that growth is not linear and that setbacks are part of the journey. The book closes by reinforcing the idea that mindset shapes destiny not by magic, but by behavior. Beliefs influence actions, actions create habits, and habits determine outcomes. When you believe you can grow, you take risks. When you take risks, you learn. When you learn, you expand what's possible in your life. In the end, mindset is not just a psychology book, it's a mirror. It asks you to look honestly at how you respond to challenge, criticism, and failure. And it offers something rare and powerful: the reassurance that you are not stuck with who you are today. With the right mindset, you are always in the process of becoming. Carol Dweck's mindset delivers a simple yet life-altering message: your abilities are not carved in stone. The beliefs you hold about learning, intelligence, and effort quietly shape every success and setback you experience. A fixed mindset traps you in fear and self-protection, while a growth mindset frees you to explore, evolve, and exceed your own expectations. The true power of this book lies in its practicality. It doesn't ask you to change who you are overnight, only how you interpret your experiences. Once you begin to see challenges as teachers and effort as a bridge rather than a burden, your potential expands in ways you never imagined. The question is no longer whether you're good enough, but how far you're willing to grow.